Morning date. Welcome to another edition of Morning Date when we get to meet the amazing figures from all walks of life. And today I have the privilege of sitting down with the CEO of the Tongyeong International Music Festival Foundation, Mr. Florian Riem님.
Good morning.
Hello Florian, welcome to our show.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, well thank you very much for taking the time and coming to the studio today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Would you like to say hello to all the listeners listening to our show right now?
Yes, I'm glad to say hello this morning. I just came up from beautiful Tongyeong by the sea, and it's always great to come up to the capital and to big city and many people around. And yeah, look forward to talking to you.
네. 통영 국제 음악제 그 파운데이션의 CEO를 맡고 계시는 플로리안 리엠님과 함께 모닝 스페셜 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. Now, of course, you represent Tongyeong International Music Festival, the foundation that organizes the festival. So would you like to please give us an introduction of this festival first?
We're one of the two big music festivals in Korea, along with Tongyeong and Tongyeong. Sorry, I gotta start.
Yeah,
It's
it's
always
okay.
hard to. Let me think. What am I gonna say first?
Well, just casually, you can just
여기서부터 갈까요?
네.
Actually, can we do this again, because you introduced me as the Tongyeong Music Festival Foundation. It's not really correct. I'm the CEO of the Tongyeong International Music Foundation,
music.
which is
Music
organizing
Okay.
music festival입니다. Now, of course,
네, 제 질문부터 할게요.
네, now부터 갈게요.
네.
진행해 보도록 하겠습니다.
Yes, as you are the CEO of the Tongyeong International Music Foundation, to put it, I think a lot of people have heard about the Tongyeong International Music Festival, but we would like to hear a proper introduction from you. So can you briefly tell us what kind of music we can find in this festival and how long it's been around and things like that?
Yes. For those of you who haven't been to Tongyeong, I would really love to invite you to come down there. It's a really amazing. It's a beautiful place, and we also have one of the most beautiful concert halls in the country. It's located right beside the sea, overlooking one of our hundreds of islands, and it's a very beautiful place to be in the first place.
Yes.
Now, our festival started about 20 years ago, and it was founded to honor Tongyeong's Tongyeong-born composer Yuni-san, who was born in Tongyeong 1917 and just celebrated his 100th anniversary last year.
Yes.
We are performing his music. The festival is held in his honor, but we are also performing a lot of other music. We're presenting mainly classical, contemporary music, but also jazz, world music, and other things. So it's a very multifaceted event
네.
that takes place every year in beginning of April for 10 days. And this year's festival was just finished. Now we're planning next year's festival, but at the same time we're having concerts pretty much every weekend, and it's always worth a trip down to Tongyeong, spend some time by the sea, eat some great seafood, and listen to some wonderful classical, wonderful contemporary, very interesting new music.
네, 전 세계적으로 유명한 음악 축제들이 상당히 많습니다. 그리고 대부분의 경우 오랜 역사를 자랑하고 있기 때문에 어떤 나라에 가거나 어떤 도시에 가면 꼭 들려봐야 되는 그런 행사 중에 하나가 되었는데요. 우리나라에도 그런 곳들이 있습니다. 통영에도 있고요. 또 대관령 지역에도 있고. 그래서 통영 인터내셔널 뮤직 페스티벌은 아마 전 세계의 클래식 애호가들이 가장 오고 싶은 그런 축제 중에 하나가 아닌가 싶습니다. You get to hear great classical music and great contemporary music and sometimes jazz. it is quite often that you get to meet world-renowned classical artists coming to Tongyeong to perform. As you said, 4월에 이제 시작이 되고요. 그리고 한 열흘간 지속되는 이 페스티벌. 그런데 얘기 들어보니까 꼭 이 국제 음악제뿐만이 아니라 평상시에도 그런 공연들이 상당히 많다고 합니다. So, about 20 years ago, so it has a long history.
That's right.
Yes.
And it was started as a very small event
Mhm.
with very little money. Now it is really one of the major festivals in the region, not only in this country but also in Asia. And we have quite a big name internationally already, and that is due to our recipe.
Mhm.
I might say we are trying to do things differently. We're trying to do our own, to present our own artists, our own programs, and not to just do what everybody else is
Yes.
presenting around. And sometimes that might be really exciting, that might be really popular music, sometimes it might also be very new music, very contemporary and very demanding for the listener. But our audience knows that and loves that and just comes because of that.
Ah, I see. So original contents and maybe modern music and those kind of different things that people don't hear every day is something you can find down there in Tongyeong.
That's right.
Yes. I know that the easiest way to introduce how popular this festival is, perhaps by giving us some names of the artists that have been performing during the festival. So can you just give us a few names of, famous people that have been performing at this festival?
Well, there are names from the Vienna Phil to the BBC Orchestra to Kyung Chung to many people in the classical world or in the classical music world you would know, many artists you would know, but we try and really present some new artists, some young artists, and we really had a good hand over the past years to present young artists that in the meantime became really famous and are now some major players in the classical music.
Mm-hmm. So you also take this opportunity to find and show young new artists into this world.
That's right. Our festival was founded in honor of Lee Sang-yoon, and Lee Sang-yoon, or Yuni-san as I should say, he was really not only a great composer, actually the only Korean composer that became an international figure, an
Yes.
internationally well-known composer. He was also a great teacher, and he helped a whole generation to set foot in Europe internationally and make their career. And the fact that now so many young Korean artists are winning competitions, are playing abroad, are traveling all around performing is a little bit also due to Yuni-san being a teacher, being a well-known Korean figure in Germany in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and as such really helping young people to become famous, to make their career abroad.
네, 물론 작곡가 윤희상 선생님은 정치적인 성향이나 정치적인 신념 이런 것들을 뒤로 하고 음악적인 커리어로만 봤을 때는 아마 우리나라 한국인 출신으로는 가장 세계적으로 알려진 작곡가라고 우리가 인정을 해야 할 것 같습니다. 그래서 독일에서도 인정을 받고 있고 전 세계 많은 곳에서 특히 클래시컬 음악 쪽에서는 아마 한국을 대표하는 작곡가라고 우리가 알아야 될 것 같은데요. And you also said that this festival actually started by commemorating his works and about him 20 years ago. But as you said, let's go a little bit back of what you've just mentioned. Last year commemorates the 100th anniversary.
That's right.
Yes, and also you had to play a very important role on making that a very special occasion.
Last year, especially with the previous government, it was really difficult to present his music. We were on the blacklist, and it was not the famous blacklist.
Yes.
Yes. But we always tried to stay true to our intentions, to our the reason why we're there, and to the legacy of Unisan. And of course now it has become much easier to perform his music. Unisan's music is not easy to listen to, and a lot of people are afraid of coming to listen because they think, oh, it's so difficult, and they might have a hard time understanding what's actually going on. I really want to encourage these people to give it a try and listen to some of these concerts, because there is some of the most amazing music written out there. And if you dare and sit in one of these concerts, you might actually be really surprised of what this music is about. But we were going to talk about last year and what happened around the anniversary.
Anniversary of his birth, right?
The anniversary of his birth was last September. He was born in 1917. And he was buried in 1995 in Berlin in a grave of honor in the city of Berlin, given by the Senate of Berlin. And for me as a German, it's actually part of the reason why I'm here, this bridge between Germany and Korea. Unisan lived in Germany half his life, and he is a very well-known composer over there. So last year, the question came up to move his grave, to move his remains back to Tongyeong, because that's what he always wanted, and that's what his family really dearly wanted. His wife, Lee Suja, is 92, and she was really hoping for her husband to come back. And so they tried already for many years. They had tried already for many years, and last year, finally, we got to the point where we said, well, it might be possible politically, so why don't we just give it a try? And I was actually completely against it, because as a German, I was against it, yes. As a German, I also feel that Unisan is a German composer, and I felt that a grave of honor, along with other composers such as Mendelssohn, such as Max Bruch, and other really great European composers, a grave of honor in Berlin is something you won't get every day.
Yes.
But in the end, it was his wish, and it was his family's wish, and I think everybody understands that that wish should take precedence. And so I started working on this project, if I may say, of moving his remains back to Korea. And it was not easy, but over a couple of months we were able to realize it. And in February this year, we had a ceremony in Berlin at his grave, where his grave was opened, and his urn, the ashes were taken out, and we brought them back to Korea, back to Tongyeong.
And that happened last year.
The beginning of the process happened last year, and the actual opening of the grave happened this February, just 2 months ago.
I see. 네, 작년이 그 윤희상 작곡가의 탄생 100주년이었거든요. 그래서 여러 사람들, 특히 그 유가족들의 뜻에 따라서 그 유해를 다시 한국으로 가지고 와야 되지 않을까라는 이야기들이 있었습니다. 근데 뭐 여러 가지 뭐 정치적인 이유들도 있었고, 그래서 이제껏 어렵다가 이제 드디어 작년에 이제 그 나머지 뭐랄까요, 그 유골함을 한국으로 다시 가지고 오는 작업에 착수하게 되셨다고 이제 설명을 해주셨는데, 그래서 실제로 올해 2월달에 이제 베를린에 있었던 그 무덤을 다시 열어서 그 유골함을 들고 이제 한국에, 특히 통영에 다시 묻게 되었습니다. 생전 고인의 뜻이기도 했고 또 남은 유가족들의 그런 뜻이기도 했기 때문에, 물론 베를린에서 그렇게 영웅 대접을 받으면서 다른 세계적인 작곡가와 함께 묻혀 있는 것도 영광이겠지만, 그래도 고인의 뜻이 있기 때문에 한국으로 다시 들어오게 됐다고 합니다. So you were personally involved in bringing his remains back to Korea.
I did all the paperwork before, and then we were standing at the grave, and this whole thing had to be managed somehow. And I don't know if you've seen an urn with ashes. I don't know if you held one in your hand. You
I held one recently, so.
I hadn't. It was the first time for me.
It's quite an emotional moment, isn't it?
It is a very emotional moment, yes. And the plan was to actually ship the urn by a courier service to Korea. But there were some issues about insurance, about safety, about timeline, and you could not actually control like you can with many other packages where they are at any given moment, what happens at immigration, many problems. And personally, I felt a postal service was not worth for a great personality.
Doesn't sound respectful enough, does it?
Exactly.
Yes.
So in the end, I decided I was just going to take him on my own.
Personally.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm now a specialist in taking
Yeah.
ashes internationally. It's not easy. You need paperwork. You need to know a few things. But in the end, I took him on the plane, on 3 different planes actually, until we got to Korea. And it felt just like the right thing to do. I was very happy to bring him back personally, and I was especially happy when we arrived in Tongyeong and I could give the urn to the widow into her hands, bring her husband back to her personally. That was a very touching moment.
네, urn이라고 하는 것은 그 유골함을 얘기하고 있습니다. 그래서 그 유골을 넣는 그 항아리를 urn이라고 부르고 있어요. 그래서 직접 그 윤희상 선생님의 유골이 담긴 유골함을 직접 들고 오셨다는 이야기를 해주셨습니다. 자, 우리는 통영 인터내셔널 뮤직 파운데이션의 CEO인 플로리안 리엠님과 모닝 데이트를 진행하고 있는데요. 여기서 노래 한 곡 듣고 계속해서 이야기 나누겠습니다. 영화 Il Postino의 주제가이기도 하죠. 조슈아 벨의 Il Postino 듣고 오시겠습니다. 네, 통영국제음악제를 지금 기획하고 있는 통영 인터내셔널 뮤직 파운데이션의 수장이신 플로리안 리엠 씨와 음악 이야기 나누고 있습니다. 방금 들으신 곡은 조슈아 벨의 Il Postino였어요. And I forgot to give out the quiz question that a lot of our listeners are waiting for, so that we can give out a lot of prizes. So, Florian, would you mind doing the honors, please, of giving us the question of the day?
Okay, let me see here. Your quiz question. Music that doesn't feature lyrics is known as?
Number 1.
Instrumental.
Number 2.
Sentimental.
네. Once again, the question is?
Music that doesn't feature lyrics is known as instrumental or sentimental.
네. 정답을 알고 계신다면 짧은 문자는 50원, 긴 문자는 100원인 샵 1045번으로 보내주시고요. 저희 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스를 통해서 보내주셔도 되겠습니다. 정답자분들 중 저희가 몇 분을 추첨해서 상품을 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. Okay, we're also talking about the festival, but also I'm curious about your personal attachment with this foundation, because as you said that you are German, and as far as I know, you were a cellist. Are you still a cellist?
I play every now and then, that's
yes.
right.
So how did you get acquainted with this foundation?
Actually, it's a very boring story. I saw an advertisement on the internet, and I thought, wow, this sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied for a position. I never thought it would get that far at that point, but it developed into a very, very long story, and I'm very happy that I did apply at that point.
So that was an ad on newspaper over in Germany? Or
It was on the internet, actually.
on the internet.
They advertised my position internationally, which is actually quite extraordinary for Korea, because there are no other, except for a museum in Seoul, but there are no other leading figures in the arts and music world in Korea that are foreigners. So I'm a bit lonely up there.
Yes, so after you applied and after you've gotten that position, so did you move to Korea after that, after you got that position? So
That's
you were
right.
living in Germany before?
I was in Germany at the time, but I should say I have lived in Japan for 10 years before,
Okay.
both
So
as
you've
a
had
musician.
so you've had some Asian backgrounds.
That's right, and I have children living in Japan, so I wanted to get closer. And I had a few opportunities. I had the possibility to also to move back